Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human interest stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today it's Wednesday and it's 20 March 2024. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you find the information here to be informative. And if you're a returning viewer, by all means, thank you for coming back. You know, I always say the tide changes so frequently here on these YouTube streets, so you always have to acknowledge where your support comes from. And I want you to know I sincerely thank you for your support. Feel free to like and to share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. And our story today takes us to Fort Liberty here in North Carolina. Take a look at the headline. And it reads, former Fort Liberty soldier gets 15 years for drug trafficking. I'll provide you with a summary here, and as always, I'll place links to a few of the full articles in the description box. This video is about drug trafficking through international ports, and it highlights the role that soldiers allegedly played in a major drug trafficking ring. But it also brings to light the actions of a very arrogant paratrooper who thought he could beat the system. But an international team of drug enforcement officials worked together to bring him to his knees. And this is 27-year-old Gordon Ray Custis, a former paratrooper from Fort Liberty here in North Carolina. And for those who may not already know, Fort Liberty is the new name for the base previously known as Fort Bragg. Now, I don't know this paratrooper's rank. It was never provided, but that's okay. We really don't need that information to tell the story. But he was recently sentenced to 15 years in federal prison for his role in an international drug smuggling and money laundering ring. And this is an interesting case because even after this former paratrooper had pled guilty to the crimes as charged, now while awaiting sentencing, he was still participating in illegal drug activity and was charged once again. And the information for this case was provided by the Eastern District of North Carolina, the Attorney General's office. They're the ones who prosecuted this case, and the date of the reporting was January 26, 2024. And let's get back to the very beginning to how it all got started. Now, there's an international connections here, and it dates back to 2021. I believe it's May of 2021, when customs official at the Charles de Gaulle Airport in France notified U.S. customs official and the United States Homeland Security that the package from Cameroon, which is in South Africa, had been intercepted and that it contained a large amount of drugs. The drugs was specifically identified as approximately 3 kilograms of ketamine. And North Carolina law enforcement officials got involved because the package was addressed to someone in our hometown, an active duty paratrooper named Gordon Custis, stationed at Fort Bragg. It was called Fort Bragg then, but it's called Fort Liberty now. Now, he had an old post address in Fayetteville. And let me add a sidebar, if I may. Fayetteville is a small city here in North Carolina, and this notification supports two long-held premises about drugs in our community. First, active duty military personnel or active duty soldiers are playing a role in drug trafficking, and two, the drugs are not just coming into our community through the large cities. As you can see here, this was coming from overseas, from Africa, to a small location such as ours in Fayetteville, and then to be allegedly transported nationwide. So once again, the name of the drug was ketamine, a powerful narcotic using anesthesia, and this drug coming into our country was the undiluted, powerful stuff with the potential for deadly consequences. Now, in the wrong set of hands, this drug could potentially cause death and devastation of unimaginable proportions, and on the black market was worth a heck of a lot of money. So state and local enforcement officials were given the heads up. They were warned that this unwanted destructive package was on its way, and they knew something needed to be done. So they decided to set up a sting operations. Now, those are my words, not theirs. But they set up cameras to make sure they could see the drugs being delivered. It was reported that a stationary camera was placed in an area of Custic home, and on the day of delivery, the package was delivered to the home by undercover members of the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office who were assigned to the U.S. Homeland Security Investigation Task Force, and law enforcement near and far observed as the delivery was accepted by the homeowner. A search warrant on the home was executed, and here's a picture of the contents of what they found. Over 60 pounds of illegal African source ketamine, enough drugs to cause a lot of destruction and death to thousands of our friends and neighbors. And as expected, Gordon Krustig was arrested and charged. And shortly after his arrest, he was discharged from the military. I guess the military did not have jurisdiction to prosecute him. And with his drug dealing so prominent, the military had no choice but to let him go. They probably knew he would eventually be spending a significant amount of time behind bars eventually after conviction in the civilian prosecution. And he eventually did plead guilty to possession with intent to distribute ketamine. And not only did he plead guilty, he admitted being part of a major interstate drug trafficking operation. And despite this knowledge, authorities still made a decision to release him from custody and allow him to be free until sentencing. And that was really shocking to me. But I wonder if they really expected him to be clean and to cut off all ties to his previous drug connections. If they did, they were soon very disappointed. And for many of us, if we pled guilty to a crime and we are awaiting sentences, we would probably be on our very best behavior. Why? Because we would be hoping for a lighter sentence. But that was not the case here, because shortly thereafter he returned to his drug dealing way of life. And it did not appear as if he was trying to hide what he was doing. He was now out of the Army and had relocated with his family to Rockville, Maryland, where his wife, an active duty soldier, now had a job at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. And Army CID was alerted to the fact that Kustik was up to his old tricks once more. They received notice that he was still in the ketamine business, and he had sent out notices to connections letting them know that he was selling and distributing. He simply moved from one small state to a larger one, and he was still trafficking drugs. So there would be another investigation and another search warrant for his home. And in February of 2023, investigators searched his home in Rockville, Maryland, and found more than 6 pounds of drugs and more than $164,000 in cash. They also found various drug-related tools such as scales and vacuum sealing machines. Additionally, investigators uncovered a very wide money laundering ring. And according to the Department of Justice, Custis and others used cryptocurrency to purchase ketamine from Cameron. So in reality, he never really stopped. So they say the local group laundered over $700,000 in proceedings, and that Sustic was the ringleader. They say he had been using sophisticated, more creative methods to hide money. But cryptocurrency was being used to finance his drug dealing operations. So Gordon Custis was charged once more, but he was not the only person charged as part of this money laundering plot. There was Custis, there was his wife, an Army Sergeant Shabrair Chantel Bright. Now she, as I already mentioned, she was active duty soldier assigned to Walter Reed Army Medical Center, and there was another sergeant from Virginia. So here you're seeing that the drug trafficking business and money laundering visit extended not just to one military base, it had extended to other bases and to other communities. But let's take just a minute to speak about Custis' wife, Army Sergeant Shabrair Chantel Bright. Let's talk about her for a second. As I already mentioned, she and her husband were now living in Maryland, Rockville, Maryland, and she was working at Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C. Now, she too was arrested and charged, and she's facing multiple counts relating to money laundering, lying to officials, and conspiracy to distribute ketamine. Now, she pled not guilty last November, and she's currently awaiting trial. Now, I don't think I did not see where she was charged relating to the bust in Fayetteville. I did not see that published anywhere, but she was definitely charged with what was taking place at her home in Rockville. And she's facing some very serious charges in Maryland that most likely will result in her going to jail. And it's safe to say she might as well, if she's found guilty, she could kiss a military career goodbye. And this is the cover page of the most recent indictment, and it mentions Custis, it mentions his wife, and there are two other individuals. And as far as Gordon Custis, the former Fort Bragg paratrooper, well, last September, he pled guilty to possession with intent to distribute ketamine. Now, there was several charges related to the ketamine guilty plea. He also pled guilty to money laundering, and in January of this year, he learned his sentence, 15 years in prison. I'm sure this was a negotiated plea, considering the amount of drugs he had and the potential to do as much destruction as it could have. I was very disappointed with the 15-year sentence, and considering the fact that he was so arrogant that even while out awaiting sentencing, he went to another location and started dealing drugs again. To me, he should have gotten much more than 15 years, but that was his sentence, 15 years in prison. And after the sentencing, the Attorney General's Office for the Eastern District of North Carolina and law enforcement officials issued a statement and a warning to soldiers. The AG wanted Fort Liberty soldiers to understand that his office is partnering with the Army CID and the Army to cut down on soldiers engaging in drug trafficking activities. So if you're wearing that uniform and you think you're invincible, you'd better find another hobby besides drug trafficking, because they're going to seek you out and they're going to put you in jail, plain and simple. That's all I have for you right now. Feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video. And of course, feel free to like it and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button. It's on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on the bell that looks just like this one, that's the notification bell. If you click on that notification bell, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.